Hello everyone and welcome to episode 5 of the series where we are making a game from scratch in SFML using C++. Now, last episode we saw that we're almost finished with the settings page. As you can see, we just need the FPS limit, VSync and resolution done. However, before we start with any of that, there's something that I need to address very urgently, and that is in our event user. If we go have a look, I mentioned this in a previous video that this caller ID, we get the type ID of our class that registers as an event user. And we use that when registering for an event and deregistering for an event. However, the issue is that type ID is the same throughout different instances of the same class. For example, if we have two buttons, button A and button B, if we try and deregister events for button A, we will end up deregistering events for all the buttons. So button A and B then, which is not what we want. We want a unique ID per instance of every class that registers as an event user. So I gave it some thought, and instead of using a type index, I think we're just going to use a static unsigned 64-bit integer that will continuously increment and use that as the unique ID. I doubt we will ever run out of enough numbers for a unsigned 20 or 64-bit integer. But if we do, we'll address that when the time comes and we'll upgrade it to 128 or something. But yeah, I really doubt that. So let me do that right now and I will get back to you. Okay, we've gone now and we've replaced the type index everywhere and the type ID stuff with this UN64 static version of it. And it seems to build just fine. So let's have a look and see if everything still works as expected. It's all looking good. We can still change that. Okay, great. Everything looks like it's just working as it should. So now that that's done, what we can do next is, before we finish up the settings menu, what I'd really like to do is I want to go through all the instances where I use new and delete and replace them with smart pointers. Like if I go in the main menu here, you see we new stuff, we delete them. You know, it's just a bit outdated. So, and we have to do all of this stuff, which is a bit annoying. So let's go ahead and replace all of the manual new and deletes with smart pointers. We've gone ahead and replaced all the raw new and delete for the dynamic memory management, and we're now using smart pointers, as you can see, with all the unique pointers everywhere. And let's see if everything works as expected. I'm sure it would. I don't see why not. There we go. Our sound's working. Let's play with the sliders. Okay. Everything seems to be working as expected. Now, before I do these three buttons on the settings menu, one thing I want to look at is the fact that if you see I set the sliders on the settings menu to certain values and I go back and then back into the settings, it kind of resets. I think I hard coded those values. I can't really remember, but yeah, we need to replace those with actual values from the settings. Also, the sound effects, it's not actually changing the sound effects for hovering the buttons. like they sound the same regardless. So that needs to be fixed as well. So let's have a look at that. Okay, I'm hoping that this line over here was missing for the sound effects. As you can see, we set the music volume, but for the sound effects, we were not setting the volume. So I'm hoping this should change the volume for the buttons now so that they actually, you know, work with the slider. Here's the regular sound. And there's the softer sound. As you can hear, it's 0 now, perfect. And it saves correctly, that's good. But I did read in my comment that what I actually wanted to do was you change the volume here, but you need to actually click apply for it to save. So let's look at that next. Okay, so what I've done is instead of applying the settings or the new sounds to the sound manager immediately when we move the sliders, it just plays sort of a preview of that sound for the music, and same with the sound effects. And then when we actually click the apply button over here, then we set it to the sound manager. So this should now update as expected. Let's have a look. Okay, we're going to settings. The music should be updating. Okay, that's not updating, but the sound is, what happens if we apply the sound? The music applies, so, oh, interesting. So what I need to do, actually, maybe I can leave it like this. What I need to actually have is maybe a preview of the music playing in the background. And if we don't apply it, then it resets. I'm not sure how exactly I would do that. So I think for now, this makes sense for now, I guess. We'll keep it as is, you know. Okay, so next thing is these bars need to actually get the correct values from the settings, sound manager, or whatever. We'll figure that out right now. I think what we first need to do is actually save these settings to the settings manager so that we can get those settings and use them for the bar values, if that makes sense. So let's do that. Okay guys, so what I've done is I've added a new section to the settings, the audio section, which has our music volume and the sound effect volume. I've also, on the apply button, I've made it save to the actual settings. Okay. And then I've decided that for the main menu, the moment we get into the game, the first thing we do is we actually initialize the audio, which is we get the settings from the settings manager and we set the correct music and sound effects so that when you set the music and sound effect next time you open up the game, it should be what you set it to. And then finally, back in the settings menu, what I've done is for the music slider and the sound effect slider, I used the actual volume value from the settings instead of just that hard-coded 100. And that should fix all our problems. So let's go have a quick little look. Okay, we're in the game. Music, everything's normal as we expect. We go to settings. We set our music. We set our sound effect. We click apply. We can hear the music changes. The sound effect changes. Okay, great. Let's go back. Everything's still saved. When we go back into settings, we can see that it's still saved over there. Now for the real test, when we exit the game, let's quickly check the settings section. For some reason, I see an audio section here, but not inside here. Why do I? It's very strange that I have two settings in the first place, but yeah, let's see what happens when I actually load up the game again. If it actually saved. It did. Interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure why I have two settings over here. It's probably, you know what, this is the correct settings, and we see the audio section there, so everything is working as expected. So we won't touch it too much. Let's see what happens if make it 100. We leave, load up the game again, and it's still 100. Perfect. That means we've done all the work, and currently everything on the screen works as expected. So the only thing left now is we can finally do the FPS limit, the VSync, and the resolution. The VSync and FPS limit, I don't know how I'm actually going to see that right now, because I don't have like an FPS counter on my screen. For VSync, I guess we might be able to see it. I have this little FPS top right. I don't know how accurate that is. That's the AMD one, but yeah, we'll give it a go, and if it looks like it works, we'll continue on until we see in the actual game where I'm planning to have an FPS counter if it updates over there. Alright, so let's get started with that. I've just finished making the checkbox class, which we will use for the VSync setting. I thought it's the easiest to implement first, so we'll do that. The checkbox should be pretty straightforward. I mean, you click it, it looks checked. You click it again, then it's unchecked, and we can get its status whether it's checked or not. Or we can register events that happen when you check it and uncheck it, things like that. I don't think we'll use that one, but well, not now at least, but yeah, I think now what I'm going to do is add it to the settings menu, and let's see how it looks, and let's hope that everything works as expected. Okay, I've added the VSync checkbox, and I've made it save to settings and, you know, actually uncheck and check when we click it. So the only thing left to do is to see if it's actually on our screen. The positioning might not be perfect. I should actually go and have a look at how the positioning is, because the last thing we did was the music slider, and if we look at the Y values for that, seems to be plus, let's just do it plus, I don't know, 5 for now, just to see if it actually shows up on our screen. We'll fix the positioning, but let's have a look. Okay. And it doesn't look like there's a checkbox on our screen, which is a little bit strange. So I'm gonna go and debug and try and figure out why it's not on our screen. I think I saw why it wasn't showing up on the screen. We forgot to actually put it in the draw function for the menu settings. So let's see if now it appears on the screen. Okay, there we go. There's our little checkbox. If we click it, it doesn't seem to be checking, but that's okay. That will be fixed. What we need to do is actually move it quite a lot higher to be in line with the VSync. I'm going to do that, and also try to see if we can fix the actual checking of the button. Okay, so I made some changes and I ended up removing the one function callback for on check and not checked, and kind of combine them into an on check or uncheck callback. As you can see over here, it just works a bit better because they both were checking for events and kind of overriding each other. It was not a good idea. So this is much better. It kind of just flips it, and I'm sure you only need one function to run when the state changes of the checkbox. Then I also removed things like the hover cursor for the checkbox and the hover sound effect for the checkbox. I just didn't like it. I didn't think it sounded that good. So let me show you what we have right now. I go to settings. You can see our VSync is off. In our settings file, the VSync is 0, so it's false. It's off. And if we click it, we get a little sound effect. Let me just up the volume. Oh yeah. There you can hear a little click sound effect. And if I leave it checked like this, I click apply, go back, settings, there it is, applied now, quit, and I can see my VSync is now true. So if I run the game again, and there we go. It is checked exactly how we did it. So I can't really, oh right, I can. I mean, if you look top right, I don't know if it's a bit too small, but the AMD FPS now is my actual refresh rate 170. So yeah, that's perfect. If I turn it off, it kind of goes crazy, as you can see, because I have no FPS cap. It's like 2700 FPS. So yeah, it seems to be working correctly, but obviously now we need a FPS limiter for when you don't want VSync on to avoid having that 2700 FPS. But the FPS limiter and resolution will require a new widget, kind of like a box, like these labels on the left hand side, but they have little arrows that you can switch between the values. That's kind of my idea in my head. And yeah, so we need to implement that, which is the next task that we'll be doing. So I've done quite a lot of work. I've added a new UI element, this spin label that will represent the FPS limit counter and also the resolution changing thing. Yeah, I'm surprised that it actually works. There's just some positional things that need to be cleaned up, but if I run it, you'll see right over here. Let me just reduce the volume a bit. Our spin edit's all the way up here top left. The text is not centered and the arrows are kind of, you know, all over the place, but it works. You know, I click the arrow and the value changes and they disappear at the right time. So that's good. I think what I'm going to do now is just reposition it to be in the correct spot, and that's it. So let me do that real quick. Okay, I've played around with the positioning of the arrows and I think I'm quite happy with it. I think just one thing that I need to add now is the clicking sound effect like the checkbox has. I think it would be a bit nicer for the UI, so I'm going to quickly add that right now. Okay, the on-click sound effect has quickly been added. Let's take a look. And it's not working. Okay, interesting. Let me go try to figure out why. Okay, not gonna lie, I'm not too sure what happened, but it seems to be working now. So yeah, if we click it, We have a little sound effect. There we go. And it's working as expected. Now we actually should fill this FPS limits with real values. But what should happen is, I'm surprised it's not continuously looping through this values when I click and hold, because I explicitly set the event to, if we look over here, I explicitly set it to the left press, which I thought when you press and you hold it, it just carries on, you know, going off that event instead of the release button. But I guess not, so I'm gonna have to do some research there to see how the press and hold actually works. So let me do that and actually fill it with some real values. Okay, what I've done is I've gone through the settings and I've allowed us to have this string of, this vector of strings representing the FPS values. Some reasonable values I found online was 30, 60, 75, 90, etc. all the way up to unlimited. These are strings, so they need to be converted to integers to actually set to the Windows FPS limit. The thing is, unlimited, obviously, I mean, that's not an integer, but in SFML, unlimited is 0. So if you set the FPS value to 0, it counts as unlimited. So I just have a little bit of a conversion over there. And also in the spin label, I added a new function where you can set the current value based on the value, not just the index. So you can pass the string and it will look through and update the correct index based on that. Also for the settings, I had it so that the apply button now actually applies these FPS settings. And when we start up the game in the main menu, there is a new apply settings method over here. That was previously just initialization for the audio, but obviously now we have audio, we have VSync. You know, we need to apply all our settings at the beginning of the game, obviously. So all this does is goes to our settings, gets the FPS cap, and that's that. Let's see if this actually works. That's the that's a real test. Well, it looks like we have some warnings over here. Oh, of course. I don't actually return a value in that function. That would be a bit of an issue. Alright, let's see if this works now. Current FPS value is 60, which is correct. We can see 60. Now let's say we make it something like 144. We apply. Okay, I can see my FPS is climbing. Top right, it's up to 144. That's good. If I go back in there, 144. Great. If I exit the game, launch it up again. There's 144, and it's applied. It's 144. Perfect. What if I go... Oh. Unlimited might be a bit of an issue that it's moved all the way to the right there. Fortunately, I'm not too sure how I'm going to fix that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that, but let's just say I make it unlimited. Oh, FPS climbs, it climbs 170, that's my refresh rate, so VSync is on. Great. Go 90. Seems to be decreasing, and there we go. Great. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with that unlimited text, because I think I could handle it as a special case. Or just add, you know what, I could just add a bunch of spaces before it. I'm not too sure what I'm gonna do, but yeah, let me quickly fix that unlimited thing going off the screen, because obviously we can't play like that. But for now, let's apply the FPS cap to be, I don't know, unlimited. Yeah, why not? Okay, I'll be back when I fix that. Alright, what I've done to fix the issue is in the actual spin label when we set the position, I set the origin to the actual middle bounds of this text so that we can, always position relative to the center of the text. That will center our frame rates and fix the unlimited issue. As we see over here, the text is centered as normal. But as we increase, it's still centered, and there we go, unlimited centered. Now I based this spin box off of the label, and obviously the label's static, so I never ran into this issue before. But yeah, this is the fix that I had right now. So the FPS limits is finished. Now all we need to do is similarly create the resolution, which should be pretty straightforward, as it's just another spin edit label thing. And we insert the values and map them to a certain resolution. So let's do that. Alright, the resolution label has been set up and created. Let's see if it works as expected. Oh, there's a couple of errors over here. Got a narrowing conversion, which makes sense. So let's actually do this. We'll cast this as, what does this thing want? Unsigned int, I believe. Okay, let's do the same for the other one. Alright, and then what was the issue down here? Always true, yeah. I mean, I know that, but like... Okay, let's just make this very big integer. Something like that. And then we can get rid of this. Okay, is it happy now? Nope. What is the issue here? That's another narrowing conversion. Oh, static fast float. That. Let's hope this is it. Now what's the issue? Narrowing conversion from float. Ah, of course, it's already a float, man. The unsigned ints. If I can spell unsigned like that. Oh, come on. No return value? Of course. We have to return this like that. Okay, Cool, everything built. Now let's see. There's our resolution, but yeah, the text is kind of overlapping. I think I know what's happening over there with the positioning. This label text, there is something. Spin label, resolution, text size. Okay, I copy pasted something here. Aha, this is the issue. Is it? No, it doesn't seem like it. Well, this looks like it's going to require some investigation, so we'll see you soon. Alright, now I have the positioning how I want it for the resolution. As you can see, kind of fits the FPS limits. The only issue is if I actually set a resolution, things go crazy, and I think that's because I'm actually setting the size of the window, and I should be creating a whole new window with that resolution instead. Just as a little display, I'll show you what happens if I try go to 1080p. Yeah, things just squash together. It's not full screen anymore. It's not good. So let me just go back to the other resolution, like that, and we'll exit. And I think the next thing I'm going to do is try to create a whole new window instead, and then set the window to that new window, and hopefully that should look a lot better than what we've been doing. Alright, the error with the windows seems to be half fixed. If you take a look over here, you can run the game, and currently we're at 1080p. Let's say I changed to 1440p and apply. You can see it's kind of, a new window comes, but yeah, crazy things happen on the screen. We go back and then into the settings again, everything looks normal. So yeah, that will have to be fixed. But another issue is if you look at our cursor, we seem to have the Windows cursor back, and that's because in the cursor manager we only ever hide the Windows cursor right here in the constructor, and I think instead we should probably hide it, let's say in the get instance. Yeah, maybe. Oh, of course. I think... Oh. In the constructor is fine. Updating the cursor is not okay. Maybe in the drawer? Drawer makes sense. Let's put it in the drawer right at the top. And let's see what happens over there. Okay, mouse cursor's gone. 1080p. And mouse cursor is gone. And the game crashed. Interesting. Let me see if I can fix that scaling issue first, and then we'll try to figure out why the game is crashing randomly like that.
7 hours later.
So I have been here for a long time now, trying very different things to get this resolution to work, and I don't know, the game is just randomly crashing. It's no real predictability about it. Like if I run it right now, we go to the settings, we currently have this resolution, but let's say I go to 1080p, I click apply, cool, everything looks good, right? This is clearly 1080p, everything's scaled nicely. I can go back and we can play the game just fine now. But sometimes when I go back into settings, change values, go back out, it crashes. So let's see if it's going to crash now. No, it doesn't. Let's go 1440p. Great. Back, and there we go. We have now crashed. Okay. I don't get a log, any of my like null pointer checks, nothing like that. So I'm not sure what the issue is. And if we run it, you can see the settings did save correctly. We're on 1440p now, which is what we last set. Yeah, I really don't know. We can go back like this the whole time, everything's good, but the moment we click the supply button, it's just, things just crash, okay? So yeah, I really don't know, but for now, all I'm going to do is, in this update settings, I'm just gonna put like big to do, fix the issue where we sometimes, well, where we mostly crash after applying the settings. Okay, but honestly, looking at the settings page, it's pretty much complete except for the crashing issue. It works when it doesn't crash. Like the music and stuff changes, the volume changes, all good. Set that stuff back down there like that. Cool. The FPS limit we'll just put on unlimited because we have VSync on, it's fine. And as you can see, the FPS climbs top right to our refresh rate, so everything works as expected. So I think we're just gonna call it that the settings menu is done for now, okay? We need to obviously come back in the future and fix that resolution thing, but honestly, that might even be right at the end of the game. I'm not in the mood for it. I don't get why it's doing that, but I want to start with the actual gameplay, and that will do in the new game button in the next episode. You know, we can actually start with that menu. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode, if you're enjoying the series, then please like and subscribe. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions. I'll answer all of them. And yeah, thank you for watching, and I'll see you